Hello everyone, what's up? How have you all been? And it's again your average Indian sportsman here, Nagadutta this side, and hope to find each one of you in good shape and health. And uh, it's always a moment of bliss, so as to appear and discuss topic of varied interest and ranging across different subjects. So the topic today would be again a very common one, but still very peculiar one, but still very peculiar in nature because it has this particular topic has kept people in a fix since time immemorial. And but now today, as we have access to technology, we have researches happening, we have researchers and whatnot. Uh, uh, Although people earlier time also would have been able to come out with some some logic and uh, reasonable logic so as to support the arguments. uh, but the topic I'm going to present you with is whether uh, 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 humans naturally whether are vegetarian or non-vegetarian. The anatomy of a human being is is it more inclined towards consuming non-vegetarian food, or is it more inclined towards consuming vegetable? Inclined in the sense that has it evolved has it evolved, or has it has it emerged, or has it been created by nature so as to consume veg or non-veg? For example, there's a breed of animals like tigers, lion, the cat family, and immense amount of other family, the reptilian family, the avian species, and number of other species which also has certain specimens which would rely on vegetarian, but usually most of them would rely on carnivorous food, specifically the cats, they the snakes. So these would, I don't think would be able to rely wholly on who would be able to rely without non-veg food. On the contrary, we as humans, we have a variety of options. We have buffets being laid in front of us, so as to pick and choose, pick and choose from the buffet, different options, from a whole display of meats to non-vegetarian delicacies to vegetarian delicacies, sweets, and plenty of such, and a number of more things. So uh, specifically as Indians, we have been having different sects, different communities, which would certain would some would rely uh, only on vegetarian food, some would restrict themselves to eating certain non-veg, but on a maximum level as on a vegetarian diet. And you have a vegan movement also taking place in the Western countries, the USA and Europe, and where in Americas, Canada, where you have people restricting themselves to having a vegan diet, even restricting themselves not to have food which in some manner or other has a negative impact on the animals. For example, milk industry or honey industry, which they accuse of snatching the snatching away the feed for the young ones of the cattle, or maybe the bees, which after a huge struggle is able to produce a certain amount of honey, and that is uh, in a moment away, snatched away from them, so as to earn revenue out of it, and and get circulated in the food and beverage industry. So the topic arises, topic arises, we have as children, been taught that we are omnivorous in nature. We can consume, we have a choice of either consuming veg and non-veg, any of the both. But but then it again, what had come in my mind was whether we as omnivores would be able to sustain without veg or not. We can consume non-veg. That is again, we are able to cook, and the time when humans would have invented fire, or would have been able to have good access to fire, since that time they could have been able to cook non-veg. But veg always would have been a very handy option, because in the wild they could have found fruits and vegetables growing in nature, and consuming those would have been a very prime reason. And tracing back to the primates also, the other species, primate species also, maybe the apes, maybe maybe the apes, maybe the other non-ape family of non-ape family of the primates, maybe the other monkey family, maybe the macaque family, maybe the slender lords family of n number of other species. Most of these would in some manner or other rely on vegetarian. They could have some portion of diet coming from non-vegetarian sources also, but most of them, like for example orangutans and chimpanzees also have a maximum amount of diet coming from vegetarian food. So us as humans, if we consider ourselves getting evolved through the apes, through primates and through apes and then through humans, then then we should again rethink ourselves, whether we have been hunter gatherers, or whether we have made ourselves turn into hunter gatherers because we could have found some interest or some some something in specific which non-vegetarian has churned our palate into something very uh, we might would have found something very interesting to suit our palate while consuming non-vegetarian food also. So not going in much in detail with that, just sticking to what our anatomy anatomy direct us towards to look at us whether we are having vegetarian or non-vegetarian. So what I'm quoting here is through again from the book Indica from Dr. Pranay Lal. So what he mentions is our whole of our anatomy has been developed as vegetarian, and not as non-vegetarian, because in the laboratory you could in today's time you could go and search the acids which we have in our digestive system, in our stomachs, is more accustomed to digesting veg food. Non-veg food, it is not accustomed, because if you compare the acids in the carnivores, maybe the cat or maybe the carnivore family, the acid which they have is much more stronger than what we have in our digestion. So ours is much more related to with the herbivore families, maybe deer, maybe the cattle. So ours is more related to those families, us as human. And on the more then moving forward from the digestive acid side, our digestion, our intestines, our intestines are more inclined towards what are more similar to what the herbivores intestine look like. On the contrary, if you see the carnivore family, they would have one third the length of their intestine as compared to us. So that again makes a huge distinction, that whether we are accustomed to eat veg and non-veg. Although we have made non-veg as a huge, as a primary part of a diet, because that is again possible because we have been able to cook it, or make it more tender in nature, so as to suit our digestive system. Otherwise, in raw form, it becomes very difficult for our digestive system to consume it. Then coming to our teeth, so our teeth is again more related with the herbivore family. So we have maximum number of teeth we have is molar, and that is again makes us look more on a vegetarian side than non-vegetarian side. So we are made to chew food. That is not the scenario with the carnivores. They would gulp it down, and the food would remain in their intestine for days, and they would not feel hungry on a constant basis. On the contrary, we would feel hungry on a constant basis, similar to what the herbivores feel. And specifically, many people, many foolish people would come up with the reason that we have these canines which make us look more non-vegetarian, but the reason, scientific reason behind us having these canines is being frugivores. So there are many variety of and deer and antelopes also which would have these canine, which are specifically which are specifically developed so as to consume fruits. So these are for the frugivores. You would find some langurs and macaques also, they would have huge canines. That is there because they have to bite fruits. So they are from the frugivores family. So we again have traits of being a frugivore. And canine specifically is a word given to dogs. So dogs have most of the teeth as canines, and we only have these very few in nature. And dogs, on the contrary, have most of the teeth as canine. That is for them to tear flesh out. We only have two, and the rest all are from molar family. That is more towards chewing. Then coming toward the saliva again, our saliva also again indicates that we are on a we have been developed as vegetarians, because what the scientists have come up with, a saliva is has enzyme which could only digest vegetarian food. On the contrary, if the carnivores would have a different saliva on the whole. So, and specifically, specifically the trait which the carnivores would show while drinking water would be, they would bulge their tongues out. On the contrary, we would not do that. We would, with the herbivores, it's different. They would drink it. Humans also, would drink it very similar to what the other herbivores would do. On the contrary, the carnivores, because they have a different metabolism, because they have a different heating system in their body. If you see after a good run or a good exercise, a dog would staff a dog would sit and gulp in huge amounts of air, because that is what is required that is what acts as a coolant for it. Similar to the carnivores from the cat family, they would drink water by bulging their tongue out. So that is not a scenario with us. So these are certain traits which, and on the contrary, if one good reason, if it's from my personal side, which I would like to come up with, or present it so as a critique for people who would say we are non-vegetarian by nature, is that whether would we be able to sustain without vegetarian food. Of course, so humans could consume non-vegetarian diet. That is not the scenario. Would they be able to sustain without vegetarian food is the question. There are animals which would totally sustain on non-vegetarian. For example, tiger would easily be able to sustain by just consuming non-veg. It doesn't require milk. It doesn't require other nutrients. It doesn't require fruits. It doesn't require other vitamins. So as sustain, because by nature it has that mechanism within. For humans, I don't think it would be possible for us to have only being stuck to consuming non-vegetarian food. We could just try consuming non-vegetarian food on for at least a week without consuming any of the vegetarian ones. May it be milk, may it be the fruits, may it be tea, may it be anything related to the vegetarian diet. So this is how what the critique and point I would like to present would be. And even the scientists, if you go and research on the YouTube channel, they would even the researchers, even the prime medics, they would also present human anatomy as being vegetarian and not as vegetarian. Hope you enjoyed our conversation for the day, and that was it. Thank you so much.